This is the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral.com.
Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa, Internet World, West Alabama. How are you doing today on this hump day? It's Wednesday. Time for another edition of the Joe Gaither Show right here on Bama Central, on BamaCentral.com. You're watching us on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter. You're listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or on Amazon, whatever your favorite podcast platforms are. You can find the Joe Gaither Show right there. Subscribe, rate, review it. We appreciate everybody who's jumped in and joined us so far. We missed you yesterday, but that's because it was a super busy day, and that's A-okay. We love busy days, but yesterday was a great day. Yesterday, we went up to Birmingham to talk to Coach Saban for just about 10 minutes outside the Knicks Kids event. Then we went over to Birmingham. We went over to the Hoover Met and watched Alabama baseball put on, just honestly a disappointing effort. Not effort, but just disappointing execution. We'll say that. Yesterday, losing to South Carolina in the single elimination portion of the SEC tournament. So that's what delayed the show yesterday. Well, while we didn't have a show yesterday, we're right here Wednesday, and we're going to have a great day. Before we get into the show, we're going to tell you what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about that Alabama baseball game yesterday. We'll talk about Alabama baseball, their postseason kind of standings at this point. You got to wait till Selection Monday to find out for sure, but we'll talk about Alabama baseball. We'll hit the softball team going up to Tennessee for the Super Regionals. Our friend Katie Wyndham just spent some time with Patrick Murphy and Bailey Dowling. You can see that on the Bama Central YouTube channel right now if you want to go ahead and look at that. We'll talk about what we heard from Patrick Murphy and what the ladies' chances are up in Tennessee. And then yesterday evening in Birmingham at the final Yea Alabama event of the summer or of the late spring before I guess summer really gets rolling on campus. I think summer classes get going. I think it's the 28th. Is that next Monday as I'm spitting? Yeah, it's now. I think it starts on the 28th. That's next Tuesday. So having a little bit of time with Yea Alabama touring the state of Alabama. Yesterday, Nate Oats and Kalen DeBoer spent 5-7 minutes with the media, and I want to talk about a couple of their comments. So that's going to be the outline of the show today. You might ask, Joe, it's 3:30, it's 3:40. Why are you on so late? I just got to tell you about a small personal problem and recommend Mr. Danny Lynn is my personal repairman. I had a refrigerator go out, and Danny was recommended to me by a realtor a long time ago. Danny's been a great small parts and appliance repairman in my life. He's helped me with my dryer a couple of times since I've lived in this house, and he got my refrigerator back up and running, replaced the circuit board at a very affordable price, and always great service with Danny. So if you guys are looking for any sort of small appliance, any of your appliances are going out in your house, you got a washer and dryer issue, maybe a vacuum cleaner issue, or your refrigerator, washing machine issue, just reach out to me and I'll put you in touch with my friend Danny Lynn. I appreciate him so much getting my refrigerator and freezer back up and running in a very quick and very affordable manner. And he's always so nice to have in my home. So I appreciate Danny for getting me back up and running today so I can have dinner and not lose everything that was in the freezer and fridge. Why don't we get into, football carries the water. So we'll start with football. Kalen DeBoer spent about 5 to 7 minutes with a couple of our media friends, Charlie Potter with Nick Kelly and John Zener. Nick Kelly of Tuscaloosa News, Charlie Potter, Bama Online, and John Zener of AP Sports yesterday at the Yea Alabama event. And he talked about two different guys that I want to highlight, and then there's a third football kind of ancillary story kind of hanging out there that we're going to talk about. First, he was asked about Jeremy Bernard and basically what his impact on the offense will look like and how pleased Kalen DeBoer was with his development so far. And look, if you listen to the show, I think it was last Friday that we did top 10 Alabama players on the roster. I had Jeremy Bernard at number 7 on the entire roster. I think Jeremy Bernard is going to be an absolute stud. And let's all be honest with ourselves. The Crimson Tide has missed the wide receiver one, has missed the alpha on the outside since really Jamison Williams went down in that national championship game in the 2021 national championship game against Georgia in Indianapolis. And yeah, that was a terrible injury, but you never really got, a real wide receiver one back in action. Yeah, Ja'Cory Brooks flashed a little bit here and there, and Jermaine Burton had a couple of good games, notably against Texas A&M, but nobody was the consistent alpha over the last 2 years. And I think that Jeremy Bernard is really going to reinvigorate the Alabama fan base as far as passing the football and as far as the consistency that Alabama can find in the passing game. And really, I mean, when you think about Jalen Milroe and his development last year, Jalen was fine and definitely took steps and grew. Obviously, 6th place in the Heisman Trophy is nothing to laugh at or stick your nose up at. But let's all be honest with ourselves. Jermaine Burton, the inconsistency. Isaiah Bond, good in flashes. You like what you saw out of Kobe Prentice here and there, but there was never really the alpha. There's no true security blanket. And you think, oh gosh, you think back to basically every single quarterback under Nick Saban has had a dude that they can rely on. Hey, this guy, Greg McElroy, Julio Jones is down there somewhere. AJ McCarron, Amari Cooper is down there somewhere. Like, you've had alpha receivers, whether they be receivers or tight ends, pretty consistently throughout the entire Nick Saban era. And obviously, you moved on from Nick Saban, but you have to have that guy. I think when you put it into context of what Jalen Milroe did last season without a real security blanket, I mean, yeah, you saw Amari Niblack a handful of times get the late, oh my gosh, he's right there in the middle, I'm going to try to squeeze it in a window. But I don't think there was ever really the true security blanket for this Alabama football team last season, for Jalen Milroe, and for a young quarterback who's learning how to read a defense, to not have, this is my go-to guy. And obviously, the detractors will say Jermaine Burton was the go-to guy. Jermaine Burton in the A&M game, he was the go-to. Yeah, from time he had his games, but I'm talking about consistently down in, down out, every single play, every single game. You know what you're going to get out of this guy, and he's going to be a tough cover for the defense. I think that's going to be Jeremy Bernard, and I really am excited about what he will bring to this wide receiver room. And subsequently, coming with Jeremy Bernard, I'm really excited about Jamarcus Shepard, what he's going to do for the entire wide receiver core. I'm not here to poo-poo on former assistant coaches, but I think Holman Wiggins was a really, really good recruiter. I'm not so sure how he really fared at developing wide receivers and making them better once they got to campus. Now, obviously, I'm not a wide receiver expert. I haven't coached the position myself, but I never really saw anybody over the Holman Wiggins era. Oh, that guy got better. That guy came to campus and got better. Quite frankly, you think back to the 2021 season where Jameson Williams gets hurt and no one else is really available. Well, they were available, but no one else was really effective in that national championship game replacing Jameson Williams. And look, you already knew that you were going to be down John Mechie in that game. So come on, you're preparing the 2s and the 3s. You're preparing the others. As PTO, we were preparing the others, but they weren't ready in that big moment. And honestly, what wide receiver under his tutelage came here and raised their game and got better? So I'm looking forward to seeing what Jamarcus Shepard will do for the entire wide receiver core right here. And I think that when the wide receivers are performing at a more consistent level, blocking on the outside, oh my gosh, I think that was an issue for Alabama last year. Not getting good downfield blocking on the outside, not having a real commitment to the running game from the wide receivers. You've heard Jamarcus Shepard pretty consistently say, we're going to be physical. We're going to embrace blocking that way when passes get called. We can reap the benefit of our physicality. And so I'm really excited about what the wide receiver room will do. And Kalen DeBoer highlighting and really kind of complimenting Jeremy Bernard, what he did last year at Washington and what he thinks he will do this year at Alabama. Second player that he was asked about that he kind of highlighted, he's never really effusive in his praise, but he was high on getting Caden Proctor out of the spring transfer window back to the University of Alabama. And we've talked about Caden Proctor before. We've talked about Caden Proctor before and what, the complication is of leaving a team and coming back. And is he going to take the left tackle job over? Is he going to bump Elijah Pritchett to right tackle? Is the chemistry going to be okay? Look, I'm not inside that locker room, so I'm not going to speculate that it's going to be a problem, but I do think it's a issue to consider. The one thing about Caden Proctor that I want to really bring up right here in this moment is a weight loss. Caden Proctor, played last year at 350, 360, somewhere in that range, and reportedly is now at 320. 325 in that range. And many people, you watched all the snaps last year just like I did, and you saw Caden Proctor and Elijah Pritchett basically rotating in and out through the first 5-6 weeks. And oh my gosh, flashbacks to the Arkansas game where Caden Proctor gave up 2-3 sacks in the same game to the same guy off the same move, speed rush around the edge. I think cutting down the weight to 320 is about right, and I think it's going to be a good move for Caden Proctor and his success going forward. Last year's offensive line, you remember, they all talked all summer long about retaking the trenches and being a physical offensive line and making the other team quit. And it didn't really manifest itself through the whole season. Now, it did it at times, but consistently, the offensive line, I don't know if they were really winning the line of scrimmage, moving the defenders down the field. And so, look, you look at J.C. Latham, who just got drafted in the first round by the Tennessee Titans. J.C. Latham lost himself 30 to 40 pounds during this offseason to get prepared for the NFL. I think they all maybe looked at themselves in the mirror and said, maybe this extra bulky offensive line is not the move. We're all going to slim down, be a little more athletic, get out in space, and hopefully drive defenders off the ball. So I think Caden Proctor getting him back is a really good thing for Alabama. If the chemistry works out well. And, you put that on the coaching staff to manage that chemistry. But as far as on the field and execution, I think losing the weight for Caden Proctor is going to help him take a big step forward for his sophomore season. And look, he wasn't a bad freshman. People, oh my gosh, he gave up sacks. He was a true freshman. He came from playing high school football in Iowa, and obviously he was a highly rated recruit. He was 5-star, one of the 1 or 2 best offensive linemen in the class. But come on, there's a huge jump from high school football in Iowa to the SEC. So come on, you got to have a little bit of context here when we're talking about freshman offensive linemen. I know Nick Saban kind of conditioned people to, see some freshmen. I know Evan Neal got him some playing time. Alex Leatherwood got him some playing time. There's a lot of freshmen. The Quanjos got some playing time as freshmen, but it is not an easy transition from high school to the SEC on the offensive line. Last thing on the football side, and then I'm going to hit a comment with my friend Stingray as he's over in Hoover. Last thing on the football side is Khalil Jacobs. We've talked about Khalil Jacobs a couple of different times on the program. And if you're unfamiliar, Khalil Jacobs is the linebacker out of South Alabama who was flirting with Alabama in the December transfer window, but ultimately decided to return to South Alabama. Spring transfer window, he went back on that decision. I'm going back into the transfer portal. And Khalil Jacobs has now decided he's going to Missouri. Now, over the last, 30 hours, 48 hours, 2 days, you saw whispers and rumors that Khalil Jacobs was going to be coming to Alabama. And I think that some reports were out there that he was expected to come to Alabama. But now it's pivoted. He's going to Missouri. And takes are flying left and right. Oh, you see takes on one side that, Kane Womack can't even recruit his former players to Alabama. Oh, Kane Womack, he missed on a linebacker. All right, that's some narratives. You're seeing other narratives and other tweets and other discussions about, Alabama passed on Khalil Jacobs. Alabama didn't want Khalil Jacobs. I think, as always, the truth is somewhere in the middle. I don't think that Kane Womack couldn't get Khalil Jacobs if he wanted him. And obviously, we've talked about the need at inside linebacker, maybe that third inside linebacker, a number of times on the program. And obviously, Alabama opted to go for a cornerback and defensive back and Geno Vandemark on the offensive line. What I think is you're out of scholarships. Alabama was out of scholarships. It couldn't make the wiggle room. You couldn't find, I guess, NIL money for some in-state guys to throw them off to open up a scholarship. I think Alabama was out of scholarships. And so I do think there was mutual interest between Kane Womack and Khalil Jacobs. I think that's valid between Alabama and Khalil Jacobs. But really, when you look at Jacobs, and you think about the need at interior linebacker versus the other needs. I mean, we've done this show before. We've done the show where you need the interior offensive lineman. You need the guy who can play center. You need the Geno Vandermark. If I only have one scholarship, I need someone who can play center. And we have addressed at length, ad nauseum, the cornerback inexperience that's on the roster. So you need the Deshaun Jones. You got to have him. And basically it came down to a numbers thing from my outside perspective looking in. Come back to a numbers thing. Khalil Jacobs, I'm sorry, you're at 85, 86 right now, Alabama. If you scroll through rolltide.com and do a little math in your head, a little third grade math, addition and subtraction, I think you're at 85, 86. And so, look, no more room in the end. You got to go down to another road. And I think Missouri, look, that's a good fit. It's a good place for them. You're going to be in the two deep. You're probably going to get some significant playing time. I think if you had to come to Alabama, you're really dependent, and I hate to put this out there, but you're dependent on Deontay Lawson or Jihad Campbell not being healthy the whole year. And ideally, look, from a coaching staff perspective, you have to prepare your depth and you have to basically say, what if these guys get hurt? But from a media standpoint and from somebody watching the team, I don't want anybody to get hurt. You want to plan the year that, all 22 starters are going to start all 12 games and everything's going to be hunky-dory. So from a player standpoint as well, you never say, those guys will certainly get hurt, so I'm going to find my place there. No, that doesn't happen. I think Khalil Jacobs realized, okay, the math may not be mathing at the University of Alabama, and the opportunity to play in the SEC is still there at Missouri, and you can get into the two deep, you can play high-level football and get yourself out there to a bigger audience when as you're getting ready to take your career professionally. Look, this is not a miss on Alabama's standpoint. That's a foolish statement. That's foolish. If you're saying, Alabama missed on Khalil Jacobs, you're out of room. The math is full. The end is full. You got to go on to the next town. And Missouri was that next town for Khalil Jacobs. And so you go back to 2 Saturdays ago, Alabama gets Geno Vandermark. And I think that basically Alabama is at its 85, 86 scholarships. You don't have any more room to work with. I think Alabama's done. I think the roster's full and everybody's done. And basically, it's all in on getting ready for summer workouts, which will begin next week as summer one gets started at the University of Alabama. And then from there, you're basically rolling into the season. You're 101 days away. So you got what you got if you're Alabama football. All right, before we go into the next topic, I want to hit my comments, and you can always comment on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, at Joe Gaither 6. Send me your comments, questions, queries, or complaints. We like the complaints. That's A-OK. My man Stingray is up in Hoover watching the SEC baseball tournament, and we'll go there talking about Alabama baseball here in just a moment. But he says, checking in with you from Hoover as Arkansas and South Carolina are in the bottom of the ninth. South Carolina up 6-4. Oh, my gosh, those daggum Gamecocks. Look, South Carolina entered the season as, not the favorite in the league, but one of the favorites. This will be a better team. This will be one of the top half of the league team. And yeah, Alabama beat them two games out of 3 right here in Tuscaloosa. Week 3, week 4 of SEC play, but just couldn't get it done yesterday in Hoover. Look, Alabama had taken on South Carolina in the second game of the SEC day. In single elimination fashion. And we talked about it on Monday that I thought Alabama really needed to get to the double elimination portion by winning the South Carolina game to basically I still don't think their NCAA tournament hopes are in doubt. I don't think they're in doubt. We'll get there in just a second. But I thought that they needed to win the game to basically set it in stone that they're an NCAA team. We heard from Rob Bunn yesterday after the 10-5 loss, where he says, "Look, I think we're in. I think it's still we've done enough in the nation's toughest conference to prove that we're one of the 64 best teams." Alabama, I just felt like was out of arms yesterday. We've not done a ton of baseball coverage on the Joe Gaither Show, and when we have, we've really outsourced it to our friend Will Miller right here at Bama Central. But it was Will Miller, it was Kim Rankin, it was me and Matthew Gibson in the press box yesterday watching the Alabama game. And look, it was a beautiful day in Hoover, and the tournament's still going on the rest of the week. If you're looking for something to do with you and your family, I cannot recommend the SEC baseball tournament enough. It is a great event. It was a lot of fun for me to be there just to enjoy the whole day. But you're starting a pitcher, Greg Ferrone, who pitched 105 pitches on the Thursday down in Auburn, and it comes into Tuesday, 5 days rest. This ain't the MLB. 5 days rest is short rest for college. And he gets out there, and Alabama gets off to a 3-0 start through 2 innings. And basically, Ferrone starts to have some wheels fall off just a little bit. Gives up 2 solo home runs. Okay, it's 3-2. You bring in Aiden Moza, and Moza has been a roller coaster this year. When he's good, he's unhittable, honestly. And that breaking ball is nasty. And look, when I played baseball as a youth, I basically stopped playing baseball when the breaking ball was introduced to our game as the age range, as the ages increased. We got to 7th grade, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, and the curveball was more proficient, and your boy was out of baseball. Look, Aiden Moses got some talent. But South Carolina puts up a 6th spot in that 3rd inning. And just something I noticed in the building. Look, I don't know if you have kept up with Kendrick Lamar and Drake, and I'm not here to break down their whole beef because that would take 2 or 3 hours, and I would get into topics that are not so savory. But right before that 3rd inning, look, they play, South Carolina plays their video package on the board. And what's the soundtrack background? Oh, Not Like Us from Kendrick Lamar, one of the bigger songs in that recent beef. I don't know if it was coincidence that South Carolina turns that inning into 6 runs, takes the lead, and basically never looks back. Alabama, we got to get a little swagger going on. We got to get a little mojo song, a little comeback song. I'm not sure if there is one right there with the team, but they put up 6 runs, and from there, it was Alabama chasing. Alabama was able to get the game back to 7-5, but pretty much never was able to slow down slow down the scoring for South Carolina. 2-out hitting, 2 outs. Couldn't get off the field. It's a problem. And then you get runners left on base for Alabama, and really just became a kind of a snowball effect that they could not overcome yesterday. So you look and see they're out of the tournament. They're done. That's unfortunate. I think it's the first time. I think Kim Rankin told me it was the first time that Alabama had been defeated in the single elimination portion. I think she said since 2015. It was either 2015 or 2019. So it's been a while since they were eliminated in the single elimination portion. And obviously Rob Vaughn talking after the game, oh, I wish we would be staying in Hoover longer. But is it really a blessing in disguise? You've gone through, 10 weeks of SEC play, and look, we've gone over it. You guys might love the football, and I love the football too, and I really love the SEC basketball, but the toughest sport in the SEC is baseball, and probably close second is softball. You see the softball, all 13 softball programs make the NCAA tournament. I think you're looking at a 1-1/8 situation there with baseball and softball. The competitiveness in those leagues, in those sports, in the SEC, is otherworldly. You think, oh, the SEC football, it's a meat grinder, 8-game schedule. Yeah, but you still get Vanderbilt on your schedule. You still sometimes, sorry to my Mississippi State friends, you still sometimes have Mississippi State on your schedule. And look, even South Carolina, you've got some of these lesser football teams on your schedule. Arkansas, for example. But in baseball, that's really not how it works. Even the lesser teams are really, really good. And so you go out on Tuesday, and you've basically played 10 weeks of really, really tough schedules and really, really hard. I mean, look, you took 2 out of 3 against Arkansas when they were the number 1 team in the country. And what happens the next week? Oh, Texas A&M gets bumped up to the number 1 team in the country, and you have to play them. So it's like murderer's row, week after week after week after week. I wonder if losing yesterday, while look, that's never the result that you want to have. I wonder if you take these, okay, your Wednesday till next Friday, basically 10 days, these 10 days of just rest, relaxation. Now, obviously, they're not just going to sit on their butt and rest. They're going to have some practices, and they're going to get in the batting cages, and they're going to be working on fundamentals. That's kind of, it's kind of a use it or lose it with baseball. You got to keep your skills high. You got to keep the knives sharpened. But there's a little bit of element of rest. There's a little bit of element of, a little reprieve from the meat grinder, as Rob Bond called it a couple of times yesterday, the meat grinder of the SEC. I wonder if it's going to be a positive and give Alabama its best shot to get out of regionals. Now, on Monday, we talked about Alabama's basically outlook for regionals, and they were dancing on the 2 or 3 line. We basically put it out there on Monday that there was no real chance for Alabama to host. Even if they had a great week and won the whole tournament, they probably weren't going to be hosting a regional. And that stinks, but look, you've taken over, Rob Vaughn, you've taken over a program that was in total disarray. Now, look, you say on the outside, they still hosted a regional last year and they got to supers last year. Yeah, but it was in total disarray. Look under the hood, and everything under the hood was smoking and steaming left and right just because of everything that happened with Brad Bohannon. And so Rob Vaughn comes in and takes over a program that was in pretty good disarray. Credit the players and Jason Jackson from last year for holding things together. But the program was really not in a great spot after Brad Bohannon's scandal. Rob Bond comes in, takes over, has a lot of the roster turnover. I believe there was only one position player left left from last year's roster onto this year's roster, starter. And so there's a lot of turnover, and you still have Alabama in the postseason. When you look at D1 baseball, and they're pretty much the leading coverage nationally for baseball. They've got Alabama as the 3 seed going into the SEC tournament. I think that Alabama is still going to be comfortably in the tournament. And now you might fall to the 4 line, but just like with the SEC tournament in basketball, some of these selection committees, I feel like, don't value that last week, the SEC tournament or the conference tournaments as far as we're bumping you up or we're bumping you down. I think the body of work is pretty much complete for Alabama. Right now, they're projected to be out in Norman, Oklahoma. And that would be a little bit interesting, as Oklahoma is coming into the conference next season. But you go out to Norman, and you've got your 10 days rest. Oklahoma is projected to be the number 7 overall seed in the tournament. And your other teams that are projected to go out there are Nebraska and Arkansas Little Rock. I think that looks like a regional that Alabama can make some noise in. Is Oklahoma better than some of these SEC teams that you've beaten this year? I don't think so. No, they're a good team. Obviously, as the number 7 national seed in the country. But I think that I feel good about Alabama's chances of making noise. We'll say that, making noise and threatening to get out of the regional. So we'll be paying attention to that. Selection Monday comes up, obviously, on Monday. So that is 5 days away. 5 days away. Our friends Kim Rankin and Will Miller will be covering all of the selection stuff for Alabama. And then as they get out to maybe Oklahoma or whatever regional that they get out to, we'll cover that as well. All right, so where are we at? Excuse me. Let me take a drink, and we'll figure out. Woo, got to fight through the phlegm bomb right there. Okay, so I got Nate Oats on my list, and I have softball on my list, and maybe NCAA lawsuits. Oh, my gosh, I don't like getting into court stuff, but you might want to be thinking about what's going on with the NCAA lawsuits that are happening right now. What is it? NCAA versus NCAA, House versus NCAA. Yeah, that's what's going on. You got a lot of lawsuits going on, and it looks like maybe some revenue sharing is coming to these athletes, and maybe these colleges are going to have to pony up and pay, take care of these athletes at an even higher level instead of outsourcing it to you, the fan. I mean, I love NIL, but it's wrong for my friend Billy or my friend Steven to have to donate to the NIL fund to pay these athletes when really and truly it's the universities that are benefiting the most. I think these lawsuits about to be really painful for colleges, but it probably, once you get to the other side of it, will be beneficial as a whole to both you, the fan, to the athlete, and really the product that's on the field. But let's talk about Nate Oats. Nate Oats was up there at Yea Alabama yesterday in Birmingham, right there with Kalen DeBoer. We led off the show with Kalen DeBoer thoughts, but Nate Oats was up there, and he was asked, obvious questions. What's going on with Mark Sears? Mark Sears is that last little puzzle piece. And I know Jaron Stevenson hasn't officially declared his return, but I think Jaron Stevenson's basically a given. Mark Sears is not. Mark Sears, after the at the NBA Combine, basically said as much. I'm all in on the draft process. I'm going to see it through. We're going to see, where we're slotted to go, if we're slotted to go. The Combine, we covered it on the program last week. Didn't really go so great for Mark Sears. Measured at 5'10" and a quarter, and then got hurt. Little quad kind of tweak, little muscle tweak, kept him out of some live action. So it didn't really go great for Mark Sears. But Nate Oats yesterday at Yea Alabama basically says that he expects Mark will make a decision on the last day. That's May 29th. So that's next Wednesday, a week from today. He's got a workout with the Houston Rockets and with the Milwaukee Bucks. And we've talked a couple of times about some mock drafts, and a couple of different times mock drafts had Mark Sears go into the Milwaukee Bucks. But the latest mock drafts are not very friendly to Mark Sears. I think people are afraid of the height and afraid of maybe the athleticism or lack thereof. And so they haven't been as friendly to Mark Sears. You look through some of the latest mock drafts, and he's not even in them. But Nate Oats said exactly what Mark has been saying. So all the messaging has been consistent. If Mark gets guaranteed money, he's going to go. And he's going to stay in the league, in the draft. And he should. If somebody's going to guarantee you money to start your professional career, you should. And he said, but if it doesn't have the guaranteed money, if there's no guarantee, then he expects Mark will make a decision next Wednesday to return to school. And basically, Nate Oats, oh my gosh, I love you for this, but it's a double-edged sword, Nate Oats. Be careful what you're doing. Talking about if he returns to school, he wants to come back and try to help Alabama win a national championship. And this roster, oh boy, this roster is loaded. And so I love and hate a little bit, not hate, that's not the right word. I love and I'm apprehensive about the comments that Nate makes about, we're going to come back and try to win a national championship. Oh, buddy, setting the bar very, very high. Now, look, that's the part of being an elite program. The elite programs are expecting their teams to go to Final Fours and win national championships and be in contention for those top-tier prizes year in and year out. I know, Alabama, you're new to this. And so, yes, the apprehensive side of me says, oh, Nate, okay, slow down on your expectations. What if you only get to the Sweet 16 and get upset? What if somebody gets hurt? What if the chemistry doesn't quite fit? I don't know, but all these what ifs are popping in my head. Maybe you want to not set the bar so high. But the fearlessness side of me, the side that loves Alabama basketball, basically says, yeah, hell yes, we're going back to win a national championship. We love it. Let's go get it. Let's go take it. And so you got two sides of a coin right there. And NATO is basically saying that if Mark Sears does come back, he is expecting to be right there in contention. And we've gone over it a dozen times on the program. I think this roster, if Mark Sears returns, has a chance to be the most talented and deepest roster. Well, maybe not the most talented. Oh, yeah, but at least the deepest. Yeah, the deepest roster that's ever been assembled here in Tuscaloosa. Now, the talent is super, super high, but it's the fact that all 13 scholarship players are viable options, are playable options, and you wouldn't be having to cover up, this player can't shoot or that player can't play defense, or it wouldn't be a whole lot of deficiencies. You could throw all 13 players out in different combinations of 5, and I think you would have lots of effective lineups to play this coming up season. So we'll be watching that. Mark Sears working out for the Houston Rockets, but his workout with the Milwaukee Bucks is next Wednesday. So it's on the deadline day. I think that Milwaukee workout is going to be very, very important for Mark Sears and his decision. And look, where I'm coming from, whatever's best for you, Mark. Am I selfish and I would love to see you back in an Alabama uniform? Yes. But if you get a guaranteed for money, if you get a money guarantee, we'll take you at 33, we'll take you at 37, we'll take you at 40, but we'll give you guaranteed money, then dude, go for it. you're just raising the bar and raising the profile of Alabama basketball. And if you need it to be raised at all, just look at some of these NBA end-of-year teams. You have Brandon Miller named to the NBA All-Rookie team and Herb Jones named to first-team All-Defense. So you're just slowly sprinkling in talent into the National Basketball Association, and Mark Sears might be next among them. We'll see. We'll see what his decision holds for us next week. Lastly, let's get out of here with softball. Friday, Super Regionals kickoff in Knoxville. You can watch Bama Central's YouTube channel right now. You've got an interview with Patrick Murphy and Bailey Dowling. Our friend Katie Wyndham was over there in the parking lot watching them and basically getting them ready to go up to Knoxville. Patrick Murphy might have been as happy as I've seen him all year. And why wouldn't you be? He's heard the noise. He knows what people have been saying. Oh, the game has passed you by. You can't hit this, that, and the other. I think that really Sunday's performance, how good of a performance, literally, how much better of a performance could you have asked for than Sunday's 9-run first inning? You get 10 hits in the first inning and basically slam the door shut on Southeastern Louisiana. So how can you take Sunday's effort into Friday? Basically, he preached, or he said in the parking lot, we've got nothing to lose. We're the 14 seed. Tennessee is the higher ranked seed. I think they're fourth. I think that's what I saw. They're the higher ranked seed. And so the pressure's on them. They're at home. And I love that attitude. Go up there with nothing to lose and see if you can't steal the series from them. Obviously, you only won one game against Tennessee when they were here in Tuscaloosa. You only scored one run in those 3 games, and their pitching staff is incredible. And so that's going to be a challenge for sure to get to Oklahoma City. But if Patrick Murphy, if they can put on the underdog hat, you can read about that at BamaCentral.com. Our friend Katie Wyndham writing about that. They can put on the underdog hat and basically play with nothing to lose. I mean, the Alabama pitching staff has been really, really good this year, the entire year as well. Talked about we got to keep the ball out of basically low in the zone and out of bad spots because Tennessee's got a lot of power. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think that Tennessee can play spoiler. That Alabama can play spoiler to Tennessee's really strong season. And what fun would that be? To play maybe the spoiler, the joker a little bit when usually Alabama softball is more on the power side of things, more on the in the favorite side of things. I wonder if embracing the underdog role has maybe taken some of the pressure off of this team. You'll be able to follow all of the coverage for Super Regionals up there in Knoxville. Katie Wyndham will have it along with other Bama Central members. We'll have live updates. Friday at 3 o'clock is when that gets going. We'll see if we can't get Katie on the program to kind of highlight the last several teams that are in Super Regionals, all the Super Regional matchups coming up this weekend. Before we get out of here, I want to reiterate my friend Danny helping me with my appliances. Man, I was a little bit having a freak out moment when my refrigerator went out, but Danny Lynn took care of me in a quick, efficient fashion and very, very cost efficient. So I appreciate him so much. If you guys need any help with your appliances, refrigerator, washer, dryer, anything that's going on in your home, I can put you in touch with Danny Lynn. Just shoot me a DM on any of your social media machines at Joe Gaither 6. We'll get out of here for the day because we're right at 40 minutes. We'll save this NCAA versus the House, some of this lawsuit discussions for tomorrow's program because I think there's a lot to get into. And I think the college sports are probably faces, there's a crossroads. There's a big crossroads for college athletics right now. And I think that it's kind of being waged. So which way college sports goes is being waged up there in Washington right now. So we'll pay attention to that. Are some of these conferences going to settle? It sounds like the ACC and the Big 12 are on board with settling this case, and we'll get into some of those details on tomorrow's program. I appreciate everybody who tuned in and joined us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Everybody who's listened to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Amazon. You guys are my favorites. Y'all are why I do this. I appreciate y'all so much. You can always connect with me at Joe Gaither 6 or find the show on BamaCentral.com.